Welcome to this week's Tuesdays with Tim, the leader and founder of TM Jazz, Belmont Village Festival, and Cloughs of Mower. Over the years, Tim's dedication to the arts and music scene has built an impressive network of fellow performers, artists, and like-minded individuals. Join Tim every Tuesday as he dives into brief yet engaging conversation and performance with the artistic visionaries and influencers he has had the chance to collaborate with throughout the years. Without further ado, here's Tim Mower.
Well, welcome to Tuesdays with Tim. I am super stoked about today's session because I have a special guest who, if it wasn't for him, the album, The Cloughs of Moher, and everything that's been going on with the Cloughs, it would just literally not be the same. So I am about to very eagerly invite Shane into the picture, Shane Guse. Welcome, Shane.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. So we met probably, I'm guessing, through Rick Hutt. The date was probably back around 2013.
Yeah.
And
that's hard to believe it's that long.
Isn't that bizarre?
Yeah.
And the reality is that there was only one song, I think, on that initial album that I was doing that we both thought required some fiddle, because I decided to do a song called Emerald Blues.
Yeah.
And I always describe the feeling when I go in and I record, it's just on my own, and it's just like da 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 da. You can hear it in the intro. And thinking, oh, it's such a simple tune, but then you bring in the band eventually, and including yourself, and it just really comes to life. And I also remember you bringing in the floorboard. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah. Did we have a border? I think it was actually Rick's old kitchen countertop. We pulled it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, but you had what do you call them? The clogs or the shoes?
Oh, there's just I guess there's clickers on the shoes. Yeah, so it's dancing. Yeah.
So when they listen to that's not like soundtracks that we inserted. That's you actually dancing.
That is me actually. I totally forgot about that. And I remember doing the session because we did it, and it's like Rick's up in the control room, and I was in the downstairs, and and he's like, "Yeah, it was good. Let's try another one." He goes, "Okay, yeah, that's great. Let's try another one." Like the third time, I'm like, "Rick, I'm gonna need a minute."
You know what? I actually remember that as well. you're just
take after take.
And when I'm working with Myra O'Shaznan, who is the dancer, the lead dancer, and sometimes she brings some friends and choreographs. She says, "Tim, can you just give me a second?" And it brings me back to the days when I was at university, and for one time only in my fourth year, I conducted a choir. And I wasn't giving them time to breathe in between the phrases. And they were saying, "Tim, we are not instrumentalists."
Everyone's turning blue.
Yeah. So anyway, that was our meeting so many years ago. Yeah. We had a lot of fun. But tell us a little bit about you. I'm always curious, like where you had your initial spark, introduction to music. Just that kind of stuff. I love hearing those stories.
Well, I guess my initial introduction to music, specifically fiddle music, would have been from my grandfather. Well, he wasn't a fiddle player; he was a step dancer, and he loved fiddle music. And he had fiddle music always. There was always people stopping by his farm, the fiddle players, and great fiddle players. And he always had a big party before the Shelburne Fiddle Contest every summer, and there'd be fiddle players there, and they'd be playing all night long on the back porch. And so as a kid, I was watching this and I was just like, oh, this is awesome. Like, I want to do that. And so, by the time I was 8 or 9, I was asking my parents, can I get a fiddle? Can I get a fiddle?
Now, you may have just said this, but where did you say that is again? Where did he live?
Oh, he lived just outside of I don't if you know where Caen is, but it's kind of like between Mount Forest and Arthur.
Oh, okay.
He had a farm there, but I was talking about the Shelburne Fiddle Contest. So when people go to that contest in the summer, usually the Thursday before or something, he'd have this big party, and then people on their way there would stop. They'd camp in the orchard, and they'd have this big party out in the back. And
Does that still go on now?
no, we lost him a long time ago, and the farm belongs to somebody else now, and so
Oh,
I haven't done
okay.
that. But after that, I got into playing. I got into playing quite a bit, and I played with my sister and my dad, and we had
Right.
a family band, and I played in a family band for many years, and we did a lot of touring and recording, and then from there I started playing. Started branching out and playing with other people once I was old enough. I think when my sister was in Laurier, she had me come in and do something when she was in her first year at Laurier. Had me come in and do something with her in one of the master classes, and I met Fred Hale, and he's like, "Hey, you should come out and play a gig with my band." And I started playing with Freddie, and then, a little while after that, I guess I started getting calls for artist gigs, and so I was doing stuff with guys like John Landry and Jason McCoy, and eventually George Canyon, and now Dean, and
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right up there with Dean Brody. That's great, though. And then couple of questions. You mentioned, I think you had a sister, Nicole, right?
Yes,
But along the way, you met a special woman,
I sure did.
Stacy. Tell us about Stacy. What you're both into music. She has an amazing voice, just incredible.
She really does. One of the best singers. Well, the best singer I know for sure and have ever heard. And I don't just say that because she's my wife. We met at Laurier. So I was going to Laurier, and she was in her first year, and I was playing with Fred Hale. We were doing a country night at the Turret, and oddly enough, three of us in that band plus Stacy, so four of us there that night ended up being part of the Western Swing Authority. So I was in the band that night. So was Ed Ringwald, and so was Jimmy Boudreau, and that's the place where I met Stacy. And she came, and I talking to her, and she was telling me she was a singer, and she was new in town, and she was looking for bands to sing with, and I was no dummy. I was like, "Oh, you should give me your phone number." I know lots of players in town, and so that's where we met. And then I think one of our first dates we went to see Mel Brown. And,
Wow, I had no idea that the Western Swing Authority went that far back. What year are you looking at?
Well, that would have been, oh my God, I've got to think. I'm going to say that was probably in 97.
Oh my goodness.
Right, but we weren't playing the Western Swing Authority at that point. We were playing in it was just that we happened to be three of the musicians in that band.
Oh,
The
okay.
band was Little Rock. That was Fred Hale's. That's Fred Hale's band.
Oh.
And but it just happened that three of us in that band, years later, end up being all members of the Western Swing Authority. Because we all know one another. Like we've played together with lots of different things. I think of, So I met Stacy, and then I realized that she said she could sing, but she could really sing, and and then she actually started hanging around at Cedar Tree quite a bit, and she was doing working towards an album of her own, doing a lot of writing, and then they had pulled her into the Lace gig, and so she was playing with Lace, and I think at one point I played with Lace. At what point Paul Chapman, I think, played guitar in that band. Jimmy played drums at one point. So musicians, as we kind of float around. You always see the artists change, but the musicians are always the same. You always see the same guys.
That's right.
All over the place. So we've all known each other for a lot of years. So when it came time to make the Western Swing Authority, it was, I sort of just was thinking, who do I know that would be into this? And started to send out a message to all the people that I thought, okay, who would be into this type of thing? And then everybody came back and was like, yeah, let's do it.
Wow. And around what year was that?
It would have been in 2009.
Oh, okay.
We're coming. Next month will be our 12-year anniversary for that band.
Excellent. Excellent.
And we're,
well, that's amazing. You mentioned Paul. Sorry. Chappie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's on a rock.
Wasn't Paul.
I know. Paul who? But anyway, he's on the Rocket Cashel track. He did the guitar at the end. That was great having him in for that.
Great player.
So Western Swing Authority.
Yes.
I got mixed up there because there's another group. What is it? This another swing group. Anyway, but how did you decide to sort of hone in on this genre? I guess before I heard of Western Swing Authority, I didn't know too much about Western Swing.
A lot of people up here don't. It's definitely more of a Southwest United States thing.
Right.
So yeah, Western Swing, in a nutshell, started in kind of late 20s, early 30s, and started out of string bands. So
Right.
fiddles and banjos, but of course the popular music at the time was big band swing. All the pop tunes at that point were big band.
Cool.
And so these guys sort of pulled a lot of this influence, and plus influence from jazz fiddlers like Stuff Smith and Joe Venuti, and so they started combining all these worlds, and so all of a sudden this new kind of music started popping up where you had this combination of country blues meets big band swing meets string band old time fiddle music. And it's the birth of Western swing, and guys like Bob Wills and Spade Cooley and Milton Brown,
Wow.
pioneers of this. And they end up with these huge bands where you'd have 3 or 4 fiddle players, where they'd be acting like a horn section. So when you're playing fiddles, you're playing lines with the steel guitar maybe and the guitar player, and everybody's playing these lines together, more like a big band almost.
Right. Right.
Cool.
And you have two, don't you? You have two fiddlers in your group.
2 fiddles, yeah, myself and Dan Howlett. And so that kind of, I guess I've always loved that kind of music. I discovered it young, just by accident through a Merle Haggard recording, as Merle Haggard was a big Bob Wills fan, and he did a record all of Western swing tunes, and I found it through that. And through that, I was like, oh, I really like this, but these aren't Merle tunes. Where'd these songs come from? Dug back, finding the old classic Bob Wills recordings and Milton Brown, and then discovered Sleep at the Wheel, and it was just like, my head sort of exploded at that point. It was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever heard. And, and it's like, it's kind of jazzy and swingy, but the fiddle is such a prominent instrument, and it drives hard. And I was like, this is all the things I love about playing music. There's all sorts of improvisation in it. It's like, this is all the things I love about music. So it sort of was just a natural thing that I loved. And after years of, going, man, I wish there was a band like that up here. I love playing.
Isn't that funny?
Finally, a friend of mine gave me a Time Jumpers DVD, and that, it's got me going again. Oh, I'd kill playing a band like that. And finally, Stacy goes, well, why don't you just do it? Make one.
Yeah.
And that was the catalyst. And so I was like, you know what?
Wow.
I sent out that message, and then went, everybody got back right away. And I'd say within a week, we had a band and we had a place to play. I called Paul Weber out at the commercial. I was like, well, hey, where do you go when you've got a 7-piece Western swing band to play in Southern Ontario? And we've just started. And so, I talked to Paul. I said, can we get a night of the week and do a house gig maybe twice a month? And he's like, yeah. And so that's how it started. And we just sort of organically from there.
And I'm curious because excuse my ignorance, but do you play? I know that you compose, right? Either as a group or separately, Stacy, you, whatever. But maybe you could talk about that. But also, are there standards just like jazz standards that you sort of pull from and include in your music? Yeah,
sure, for sure there are. Yeah, so Western swing standards, and some of them actually have bled into country music. So if you look at a song like Faded Love has been recorded a million times. So, it was originally done by Bob Wills, but Patsy Cline had a hit with it. And numerous different artists have recorded that song. A song like Milk Cow Blues, which was really more of a blues thing, a Kokomo Arnold tune that then the Western Swing guys got a hold of. And then, Bob Wills and The Sleep at the Wheel, but also George Strait. And then I think Elvis did a recording of it too. And it's like, so it helped create a lot of these different styles of music when you think about it. It came out, and out of Western swing music sort of spawned rockabilly, and rockabilly eventually gave us rock and roll. And it's and a lot of the things you hear in country music now are things that were, came out of Western swing. So there are definitely standards. Rose of San Antone's another one that, you know, even people that don't know Western swing music often will know that song because it's been recorded so many times by so many different things. Again, Patsy Cline, Ricky Skaggs. The list is endless of the amount of people that have recorded that song.
So I know I'm gonna assume something, but I know from your family the bit that I know about them that you're probably most proud of your family. However, if you're just to look at music, what is your most proud moment within that context of music, either by award or by experience or by being able to play beside someone? Like, what's your biggest wow?
That's a tough question.
You've had a very rich career.
That's a tough one. Yeah, I've done a lot. I've been really lucky. You know, I've gotten to do a lot of different things. I don't know if I could narrow that down to one thing. Like, there's so many things. I mean, you know, yeah, there's some awards along the way, and that's great, obviously, and it's great to be recognized by your peers. But you know, in terms of writing, I mean, there's some songs that I've written or had a hand in writing that I'm super proud of. I'm super proud of the fact that with the Western Swing Authority, we've sort of created a space for a kind of music that up here didn't have a space.
Right, right.
I think is pretty cool.
And speaking of, I didn't mean to stump you there.
That's a really hard question. Yeah.
Here's the thing. From an outsider, you know what I if you want to say envy, but that's maybe too strong of a word, but what I admire, I guess I could say about your group is the family aspect. You've been together for, you said, since, I don't know, it seems like 12, 13 years, right?
12 years, yeah.
12 years. And you really do, that family connection. I notice it on Facebook. I've been out to see it perform. It's just a real cohesiveness of professionals. And I think that's amazing as well.
It's, you know what, and that is not something that happens all the time. Like,
no.
It's a unique thing, I think, because we're a band. So that's one thing. It's not an artist, and then, you know, guys that got hired behind an artist. It's a band, but it's also, you know, when we started it, we didn't have any preconceived notions of what we wanted to do with it. We didn't start it because we're like, okay, we're going to start this band, then we're going to write some songs and get on the radio. Or we're going to, you know, it's like we weren't pushing for any of those things. So anything that came along the way was gravy, because really we were just doing it because we wanted to play this music and we didn't get a chance to do it. And through that, over the years, like you say, it's been a long time. I think another thing that happens when you play with people for that long is that you get to be able to read them really well. So on stage, I know Ed and Chappie and I did a session for a guy up in Niagara named Steve Goldberger a few weeks ago, and it was a remote session. And we all did our parts when it came to, you know, separately at home. And then when they came together, and he sent me, he goes, that's crazy. He goes, I know you guys have played together for a long time. He said, it's like you can read each other's minds. Yeah. You know where the other guy's going. I said, well, in a little bit that, you know, you get that. And that's a pretty cool thing. You know, everybody's guy does one thing over here, and if that happens again, you know, if he does a certain line in the chorus and you think it's going to happen again, by the time it happens the second time, somebody over here is harmonizing that line. Yeah. And by the time you hear it a third time, you know, everybody's on it, and it's become a part. It's not just a fill. It's become a part, you know, that has become part of the song. And so that's cool. That's, you know, that's kind of one of the great things about playing music, right? Is listening and interacting, that conversation amongst the musicians. Yeah.
So here's the thing. I think we've blown our time budget today.
It's going to be Tuesdays with Tim, part 1.
15 minutes. And I think we've gone over, but it's been so phenomenal to chat with you. And I want to straighten out a couple of things. First of all, I noticed that with that little ticker or whatever, we don't have your name there, but it's Shane Guse, and it's spelled Guse, if anyone wants to look you up on Facebook or whatever. Yeah. And Guse. And I think you have a friend with you. If you reach down to your right.
Oh, you mean
what do you have? You gonna play something for us, Shane?
Sure.
Bring a little little Celtic or a little whatever you want to bring
Well,
to
let's
it.
do something a little Celtic. It seems kind of fitting, given what we've done together. I mean, it's the Celtic jazz stuff, but I'm sort of my role is to bring a lot of the Celtic element to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it too.
Okay.
Yeah, when you're looking me up, look up the Western Swing Authority too. It's fun. Like it's 12 years. 12 years.
Yeah, that's
I
awesome.
got a DVD coming out. Could be fun. All live stuff. All right, here we go. So I'll do a couple of Celtic tunes. I believe the first song is called Banish Misfortune, and then maybe I'll just go into the Temperance Reel. Here we go.
Wow, that was smoking hot. Thank you so much, Shane.
Well,
Woo!
thank you. Thanks for having me on, man.
And you know what? My toe was tapping all the way through, and all I was thinking is that I sure hope our funding, and I'm sure it will come through with Canadian Heritage. I'll say for Bestival this summer,
Yeah.
because as long as we can hammer out a date, they're going to have an opportunity to see you there. So
Awesome.
we're going to do some stuff spread out the whole summer, not just on Bestival in September.
Right on.
Keep our numbers down and socially distance and all that, but I would love to have Western Swing Authority. I always want to say swing. But anyway, thank you so much for joining, and we'll have to say goodbye, good evening after this, and that's Western Swing Authority that you can look up, and Shane Guse. Thanks.
All right.
Cheers.
Thanks, Tim. Bye, guys.